Classical Conversations presents Refining Rhetoric with CEO Robert Bortons, a podcast where faith, business, politics, and classical education meet. Join us as we use the classical tools of rhetoric to seek truth in every arena of life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Refining Rhetoric. And we are having a great conversation today with Andrew Haak. He's the director of Excel Summer Leadership Camp. He and his wife are both alumni of Excel College, and he lives on the campus in Black Mountain, North Carolina. As you all may be aware, they were recently hit, late last year with a hurricane, and they're still building from that. But the Excel College has really dove into their community as they always have. So I'm excited to hear from Andrew a little bit about that. He has also served in the military. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran and international missionary work in over 30 countries, which you look too young to have done all that already. But maybe use moisturizer like I do.
There you go.
But you live in, it says his lively enthusiasm, sharp wit, and engaging humor. Andrew is a dynamic and memorable speaker who leaves a lasting impression. And we will see if that is all true or if they exaggerated your bio at all. But Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well,
hopefully I live up to that. I know. That's a lot of hype to get.
So I think you just want to start off, we had the big hurricane. And y'all not only lived it, but then lived out Christ through it. So can you talk a little bit about just what Excel College experienced and the students and how you guys supported that community through all that tragedy?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty unexpected, as everyone, well knows. Through it all, man, it was amazing. Our school is not massive. It's about 100 students. And during something like that, like a hurricane, there's a lot of things, right, you're trying to take care of, primarily, right, safety and needs and making sure everyone's taken care of. But man, we were very blessed where our college campus is located. We actually didn't have like any damage besides like some downed trees and power lines, which did knock out power and we lost water as well for a while there. But with all that happening around us and just seeing the students responding was amazing. As you mentioned, I was in the military. Seeing things like crisis, bringing people together is not new to me, but I think it's new maybe to a lot of others that have just been living their lives up here. And you don't expect a hurricane to come into the mountainous area of North Carolina and wreak any amount of damage that it did. But it was awesome. And what even happened is we had just built a large like gathering space tent that was just finished, like a structural tent that keeps like a good amount of rain off, can host a lot of people, poured a new concrete pad, and literally within 2 weeks, everything happened out of nowhere. And then we were able to become a distribution center for like all of Western North Carolina out of nowhere because we had the space and the Lord provided. Like he prepared us, for what we thought was one thing. And then literally right after that, we had everyone from, Cajun Navy, Operation Blessing, I'm trying to remember all the names now. Just tons of organizations coming in at different levels. So initial response to everything, a lot of stuff to people trying to get in and save lives. We were landing helicopters, spray painting big H's in the field nearby, bringing in all sorts of supplies. And it was awesome. It was overwhelming, actually. At one point, there were just so many just generous people coming from all over the state, some driving like 16 to 20 hours just to bring in supplies. And they're like, I only had this much time off work and I just drove straight here. And it was just like, oh my word, you're amazing. And just finding the space to put it here. But one thing that was awesome is seeing the students' response and the students' response being able to just jump right in. We even had one truck that like lots of different issues of transportation happened. And this one guy had an entire 18-wheeler like worth of drinks and stuff that had gotten delayed until like 2:30 in the morning. And we had all gone to sleep by then. And it was like, well, the truck's here. So the guys rallied themselves and went out there. And it was like, I don't know, it was amazing. You'd have thought it was like some military thing if you hear it nearby, because they're all like shouting and cheering each other on and like unloading this whole truck by hand, entire 18-wheeler. Wow. And it was awesome just seeing stuff like that. Like, I don't know, we refer back to it often when we're reading through things in the college, right? We read through the great books, read through the primary sources, right? And there's just so many great ideas throughout history, but man, when you can connect it to an experience that they've already had in their first few weeks, since some of them ever even leaving home, it's amazing. It helps actually give them an ear for the thing, that they're now reading. And it just serves as just this awesome experience that, I don't necessarily want to repeat with every class,
Yeah.
but it was effective, and I think the Lord did a lot through it, and just seeing our students just rise to the occasion was incredible. And overall, just seeing that in the community, this continued response, and now power through some partnership with Operation Blessing, Mercury One, and some other organizations just out here, Adventures in Missions, being able to really leverage the manpower, resources, and people from all over, just tons of generous people to be able to serve. So even Adventures in Missions is hosting teams, large teams throughout the whole rest of the summer, and I think possibly beyond, to rebuild 150 houses. And during that time, from then till now, we've had opportunities where we're literally hauling out buckets of water to flush toilets for people in Asheville because they didn't have running water for a long time. And it was just the best way to spend time with students. Our whole model's relational. So I would just be like, hey, man, you want to go bring some water to somebody? Go out there. And some of them can't even open water jugs. So sometimes you go out to help them open up some of these hard to open water jugs and serve the community. So just an amazing time to be a part of. Everything obviously devastating, but seeing the community pull together in a handful of ways, even here, especially at the college, it's just been so encouraging.
Yeah, one of the special things about Excel College is kind of your experiential methodology, and students are active in the community regardless. That's just part of coming to there. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but I wanted to, ask you, you were in the Air Force. So how did that leadership ability and things you learned there, how is that helping you lead these students? Were you able to, you know, use some of that in this crisis? And yeah, tell us a little bit about, just your personal history. Did you go to Air Force before Excel College, Excel, and then Air Force, and now back to Excel? Yeah, give us a little background.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, right out of high school, I joined the Air Force. For me, it was more practical in a lot of ways. If I could start the career right away, wanted to start a family, there seemed to be a lot of benefits that I was like, this seems most logical. I also have a history of military in my family. Grandfather and Navy. My father was in the Coast Guard. I don't hold that against him. No, I'm just kidding. There's a little branch rivalry, so no worries there. But
What is it? The
and then
Coast Guard, the oldest? Are they the oldest
no,
branch?
there's just been a running joke throughout all of it within the
I know.
classification of them and everything. But I don't know actually if they're technically the oldest in their original
George
formation.
Washington started it. Apparently, I was watching a blog or a
Yeah.
video on tariffs because
Oh yeah,
it's
that's a
Donald
big
Trump's
topic for sure.
favorite word right now.
Right.
But apparently, George Washington started the Coast Guard
Wow.
in order to enforce tariffs. So, a little
Well,
military
that's
history lesson for you.
yeah. I didn't actually know that. No. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Air Force being now the second newest branch, I guess I'm a little new to the scene and some of that in the history now. But with that, both my brothers Air Force, so that was the whole path. Just made most sense. And through all that, right after high school, went into communications, worked part of an intelligence unit, and did that for about 4 years. And during that time, a lot happening in my life, and really this longing to go do missionary work, to do ministry, really of any sort, full time, surrounded by people who had a common vision, really grew in my heart. I love the military, had really good experiences. Man, there's some things that you just can only learn through just, I know, the hard knocks of life. It's just like endurance and commitment to something, submission to authority, and not just, blind followership outside of virtue. You know what I mean? It's like there's a line there on both sides. Like, how do I serve something greater than myself, bigger than my own desires, but also maintain an integrity? And that's really what the military, like, obviously talks about. And there's some amazing leaders and others who aren't the best. But I've had the opportunity to serve under both, and I think there's some amazing leaders I've learned from out there for sure. So all of that actually led me and my wife. I met my wife on the mission field. She's from America, but we met both doing missions work, and just really had this heart and passion for discipleship. People actually practically encountering God and serving, being more fully developed in their identity. And I think when it comes to identity, that'd probably be the most important thing throughout that whole journey. Because in the military, right, you come into boot camp, and you think you're one thing, and then you're getting like put into this new identity of I know you're part of something bigger than yourself. Your head's shaved. You're memorizing things. You're coming under this literal creed. There's so much to it, right? That's very intentional to reforge you into something that you weren't before, and do that alongside other people, and being able to do that with other believers in such a way that's like, where does my true identity rest? I think that was the hardest thing for me. It's like, do I identify as a veteran? I mean, sure, that's an experience I had, and I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. But my true, like, fullest identity, like a resting place in like who God has made me to be, regardless of ability or popularity or anything, and that missionary journey for me throughout those different countries, leading other teams, really helped take some of these amazing lessons of virtue that just kind of forged through military experience, that are just part of the culture. I mean, they have their own core values of like integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. And I really, really believed in those, and seeing what those actually looked like in translation to my faith walk. And then in translation to me moving into Excel as a student, my wife and I both, was just incredible. Getting to actually see what that looks like in those varied seasons of life, right? As the Lord seasons you. And that was incredible for both of us. So, I mean, I don't know if that fully answers your question, but throughout all of that, like those little lessons throughout the way of things bigger than myself that are worth pouring into. And then at a certain point, the Lord actually hands you responsibility in things that you're wanting to be a part of. But for a while, it takes serving someone else's dream. But the Lord knows that, and he sees the faithfulness in it. And it may seem small in the beginning, but faithfulness in the little things translates to being able to be responsible in the larger ones.
I think my point in all this is just to contrast the leadership at Excel College versus the woke professors who have never left a university campus since they turned 17, have never had a real job or a real experience, or have anyone pay their bill except for a state government entity, versus the experience that you bring in and are able to pour into the students. So I imagine between your military experience and mission work that your summer leadership camps are very boring.
Yeah, we usually just sit around and, just in silence. No. Yeah. I honestly, with our camps and everything, it's so much fun to be able to bring together. I know, like for me, so a lot of those trips I led were like college age missions trips. And one of the trips literally was me and 9 college age students in the middle of the Amazon, like the actual Amazon rainforest on the Amazon River, the headwaters of the Amazon. And literally the only way you could get to the closest hospital was an hour-long boat ride. Like it was
malaria?
Amazing. No, praise the Lord, I did not get malaria. But with all of that, man, it was so wild out there. But when you're out there actually living that out, and for us, one of our main things was ministering alongside local partners, and like all the places I've been to, it's like, how can you best support those who are there long-term? Because short-term missions, like you really have to do those well for there actually to be a lasting impact. And for us, we found some amazing hosts that we were connected with and served alongside. But we'd play games, we do skits. I mean, literally having the college students, some of them never sharing the gospel before, ever, going out and doing like different skits to kind of break the ice. Like we'd literally have someone just read from the scriptures, like some Old Testament things, because we didn't always have as much translation. So we'd have someone read it in Spanish, but had someone else read it to us in English, and we'd act out like Jonah or something. So naturally, you might not be able to tell now, but I'm 6'5". So naturally the whale, that became my role, Goliath and all the larger parts, literally. So through all of that, we just had a ton of fun, and those kind of experiences translating into the summer camp, just the opportunity to be able to like realize like sharing our story with other people is important as a missionary team, and being honest about where we're at in our faith, finding other people who are truly committed in their faith and actually wanting to grow and live it out, not just talk about it or memorize someone's great answers on something, but are willing to ask the hard questions. And it's like, how can we actually truly seek after truth, and not just take the first easiest answer or just repeat a memorized answer and be terrified of ever digging any deeper. God's not scared of our big questions. And I love that on our trips and within our camps, it's like we dive into those head first. So yeah, and we do all sorts of stuff in the camp too. I mean, we rock climb, outdoor rock climbing. One of the most beautiful spots, hidden gem actually, in North Carolina. If you check out our camp video on our website, theexcelcamp.org, Our media guy does an incredible job. He made like a 10-minute short story, like short film kind of video for it. And through all that, like it shows like the rock climbing spots. Those aren't stock footage. It's actually that beautiful. If you've been out to the Linville Gorge area, I don't want to tell too many people where, it's like, you don't want to lose the spot, right? Yeah. So we do that. Whitewater rafting, tons of fun with that. We also do wilderness first aid training. So the campers actually get real hands-on training. So that's actually a really big part of it, that for the military training, I realized, man, when you're in an emergency, like your logic part of your brain just blanks out, like it's normal. Your adrenaline starts pumping and it's, fight or flight or training. And when those fight or flight responses are sparked, then all that has been trained in the muscles is then what comes out. So you'd see it with like emergency service providers. You see it with, military. You see it with all sorts of people that are trained under environments of, we don't make it super stressful. We make it a lot of fun, but the putting it in the muscles allows it to actually be something you can use later on in life. And I think stuff like that, I remember even witnessing a horrible motorcycle accident actually when I was in Thailand. And I was right there on the scene and saw the whole thing happen. And honestly, it was something that I had been out of the military for a little while, and I was shocked that it just locked me in laser focus. And it was almost like I saw myself doing things that I was like, wow, how did I even remember this? So in our training with the camp, we teach them wilderness first aid, and it helps the campers actually be prepared for real life when it comes along, emergencies that do happen. But the training is fun and it's hands-on, and we use makeup, fake blood, the whole thing. We don't try and stress them out, like make anything crazy or horrible. So it is kind of fun, but it simulates just enough. And they're learning how to ask questions. If you come upon someone and you're like, man, they don't seem kind of right with it. Well, what am I even supposed to do? We teach them like, here's some questions you can ask. And we give them some good training so they can do critical thinking quickly for emergency situations. And then when we're in the classroom, we do it like the more thorough critical thinking that's focused on Socratic dialogue, which I love that you guys do. And also focused on really digging into asking good questions to seek understanding. And when we do it in the classroom, the way we make it fun is we use advertisements. I use advertisements and funny videos and things from the internet that people commonly come across, because in the camp, it's like, we're not going to read, no offense, we're not going to read like a dusty old textbook, right? Or going into that. And in the college, we spend a lot of time really bringing those alive. But in the camp experience, we focus on like, what are the things you're coming across in day-to-day life? So on social media, you're going to come across quick videos, some funny, but then you're like, wait a minute, do I really believe what that guy was talking about? That was funny, but wait a minute, So like even contrasting those things and, the rhetoric and logic and all these things you can break down. So we just bring together all those elements with just an amazing team. The guy that teaches wilderness first aid, he's an actual paramedic in Buncombe County. So he's experienced, and oftentimes campers even want to hear stories, from his experience, obviously with obvious, consideration as to what obviously someone goes into, but through all of that, it's just a ton of fun. And we made a camp that was fun enough. We actually can do it ourselves 5 times a summer, and we don't get bored. And I have a high degree of desire for adventure, obviously, with all the things that I've had the benefit of getting to go do in my life. But I think throughout all of it, man, it's awesome to just see the spiritual growth, the relational growth between other people who are like-minded. And it just forges some lifelong friendships kind of naturally in 2 weeks together.
Hey, everyone. This is a little annoying part where we have to break into the episode and tell you about some of the stuff going on. But this is super exciting. You're going to want to pay attention to this. Are you looking to become a better everyday educator? Join other homeschool parents in your area at a 2025 practicum event. Hosted by a local classical conversations leader, every summer, these parent conferences provide an opportunity for new and experienced homeschool parents or parents thinking about homeschooling to gather, learn, and practice the classical arts. At this year's practicum, you can practice the 15 skills of learning, and we're thrilled to begin using content from our brand new curriculum, the Math Map. We'll use the dimensional structure of mathematics to frame questions and find patterns to see the unseen. Sound confusing? You'll be surprised at how this approach works. This is a discussion for all ages to grow our classical education skills together. Participate in table talk discussion with other parents and learn how to engage your own students in the math conversation that transcends the ages. Discover how the classical skills of learning and the dimensional structure of mathematics helps us see and frame questions, find patterns, enables us to see the unseen, and better understand God and our universe. To find out where your local practicum meets, just visit ccpracticum.com. That's ccpracticum.com. Now let's get back to the show. So we got a little bit of details about these camps. So they're 2 weeks long. There's 5 of them during the summer. And I know these are for prospective students, not current college students.
Correct. Ages 15 to 19. Yep.
So ages 15 to 19.
Yes, sir.
Do they have to be going to Excel College, or is this something a way for them to experience it? Is it classical conversation students only, or do you guys are recruiting, I know, to a number of different schools?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some details. So if listeners have children in that age range, or know somebody who does, that they can share this information with them.
Yeah, great question. So our camps are smaller than 25 students at a time because we really focus on a highly relational, highly engaging sort of format. That's the bread and butter of Excel overall. The students, the campers, do not have to be going to the college at all. In fact, it's the best immersive experience you can get to check out Excel College. So we do visit weekends as well if someone isn't able to do a full 2-week-long camp or don't fit the age range and whatnot. And our college students are obviously older than 19 as well. Like we go all the way up. So we have that wider age range than just that. But we also recruit outside of that. Like it's wide open. But the main focus for this camp is people who are already following Christ. There's a lot of amazing evangelical focused. And when I say evangelical, it's reaching out to all people so that they might hear the gospel maybe for the first time. This camp, it's smaller and intentional to develop those leaders that would be able to be the ones leading even at those camps, serving in those places. So we really try and raise the bar with that. And we actually have there's a leadership model that I saw in the military best executed. I saw in the church really starting to come up on the rise, but it's this idea of these 4 steps of leadership. And for us, it's that first step is knowing yourself. It's being honest about where you're actually at. Then it's leading yourself. And those are the 2 first steps that I'm really looking for students is like, is there any level of self-awareness that they already have? So we have an application process. It's not just a registration. So the students apply. It's a short essay, character reference, and just some basic information. But then we get on a call. You actually get on a call with me, and we get to just talk about where you're at and see, is this going to be a good fit? Is it a good fit now? And obviously talking with the family as well. But it really just offers this opportunity for the students to be able to share a bit about like where they're already leading themselves. And I don't mean, when I say self-leadership, I don't mean they have some title that sounds great. Maybe they do, and that's awesome. But it really comes down to like, are you responsible with the things you've already been given? You know, when it comes to maybe you have, all the opportunity to do your homework over a certain block of time. And it's like, are you going to show up and put in the work? I emphasize with our campers as well. It's most of life is showing up, and you may have no idea what you're doing, but if you show up, it's going to set you apart from a massive crowd of people that just don't even try. So showing up in those first 2 steps of leadership are a bit of a prerequisite. Now, if someone's like, man, I don't know if I really have that or not, still apply. Let's talk about it. You actually might have more in you than you think you actually do. And my goal in the camp is not calling out people, but calling them forward. And we're highly focused on encouragement that really sees the giftings in people and the potential and pulling that forward. Some campers have already done that. They've already gone to a lot of leadership camps. They've already had that benefit. And I love that. And they thrive at our camp. They just keep going full speed ahead. Other campers that they're new to that are encouraged by that. And it creates this like positive flow. You hear peer pressure and it's always really negative, but when there's just a positive flow of people that truly want to serve the Lord, grow in their faith, and just genuine in that pursuit, it just makes for an incredible experience over 12 days that honestly actually leave me in tears at the end every time. Because just in 12 days, it's amazing how close you can get with people. And I love just having this opportunity with our staff that are all people that are internal. So all part of the college and like Excel overall, just serving after these students. And for us, we love getting a chance to share our testimonies, which kind of lead us to the next 2 steps of those 4 steps. And it starts with, right, so knowing yourself, leading yourself, then it's knowing others and then leading others. And if we can focus on keeping those, like those all build on each other. One doesn't just go away, Like I need to know myself enough to lead other people, but I definitely need to be leading myself well. So I have that level of integrity, right? Like I talked about in the Air Force, they talked about that. Just as much as it goes into anywhere, the internal world and the external world, they're going to line up, and the fruit's going to come out. So it's like, am I focused on like, all right, Lord, what work are you doing in here, and submitted to his authority and following after Christ, so that I can tell the students, just like Paul said, hey, follow me as I follow after Christ. Let's do this together, right? But we're all looking to the same man that we're all following. And in that knowing others and leading others is really where we focus so much of our staff training on. And a lot of our staff and like counselors have actually been already responsible in the college area. So for them, they're already leading their peers, which is a pretty good sign for anyone, right? That they're able to actually come alongside their peers and have a level of graciousness in their words, but also a commitment to like something worth saying that might be hard for someone to hear, which just makes for just such incredible people to work with. That balance of the truth and love, they're not mutually exclusive, right? They're found in the same God, and Jesus just exemplified it so perfectly. And for us, it's that encouragement, and focus on like, how can we be a blessing for your life, whether you come to Excel or not, but you had a chance to be blessed while you're at Excel College for this summer camp. So we spend about just over half of the time here on the college campus. So they get to actually see what some of that life is like. We'll do a couple of different sessions, at least 2 nights a week, and some worship nights and things like that with the college students. But the rest of the time we have other things separate as well. But we'll also spend a lot of time out in the woods, typically about a 4 days worth, going out in the woods. It's like a camping trip portion where we do a lot of the wilderness first aid training, rock climbing, some days swimming, doing even like some basic water rescue stuff, but things that you would actually come across in your day-to-day life. It's just a ton of fun and really effective. We had one camper as well who she had messaged us this actually a few weeks ago. Her and her mom were on a trip to Guam on a layover in South Korea. And her mom actually slipped and hit her head from what I recall, and actually had a pretty bad wound on her head. And her daughter, whose only medical training of any sort, was actually going through our camps, and just the sweetest person ever, but definitely a thinker. So the type to maybe think for quite a while before knowing what to do and whatnot. And she's incredible, so gifted in so many ways. But with this training, just helped put something there that she knew what to do. And she jumped right into action so well that they didn't actually have a lot of time. They couldn't really get a lot of help. They couldn't do a lot of things before they had to leave. They got to Korea and the doctor was like, "Oh, did you see a doctor?" Or they got to Guam and he's like, "Did you see a doctor? Get this all patched up." She's like, "No, it was my daughter actually over here." And it was just like, she texted us that. I was like, that's exactly what it's all about. With that side of the training, especially, man, it's just like critical thinking is not an armchair philosophy. It's lived. And in our college experience, it's different than just the adventures. It's the practical. It's in the job market. So the students are actually getting apprenticeships. I just love, one of my favorite things about Excel is it combines at every level the practical and the spiritual. That like my faith isn't something that's just a cerebral exercise, an assent to a certain idea. It's expressed. It's a virtue, So that just for me is not only what brought my wife and I here in the first place, is seeing that a community of people doing that. But in some, the fact that it's a debt-free model, there's so many things for us, but the community committed to that is really what just brought us to Excel. And for me, with the summer camps, actually, it's our 3rd year of having these summer camps. So bringing those military experiences, bringing those fun, like worldwide experiences and adventures and all those things, and trying to make 2 weeks that just really leave someone with tools for life and all the seeds planted and all of the blessings that their family has already given them, all their mentors have already put in their lives, are blessed and continued and furthered. Our goal is to make people of honor at our whole college, people who can truly value things like mentorship, and really be a blessing in the world, not only in their own families, which is probably the most, we believe the most important part of all society. It's the basic building block of it. And if people are truly connected to Jesus as disciples, and they're truly blessings to their family, as for me and my house, we'll follow the Lord, then the whole world's going to be changed. Imagine if everyone did that, So I love that. That gets me up in the morning. That gets me excited. And it doesn't have to be some drudgery. I had an old friend say that joy is the serious business of heaven. And I am all about it. And that's really what the focus of the summer camp is, living it out and having a lot of fun doing it in the process.
So is each week like specific to like a certain sex, or do you have, is it
Oh yeah,
co-ed? And then like,
great
how do
question.
y'all manage that? And then it sounds like you guys living in dorms or something like that for half the time, and is the other half camping like in tents? Or give us give us a little bit of details, because my
Yeah,
wife's not a big camper, so she might get
yeah,
scared
great
away.
question. Great question. So, well,
She's a little
first of
older
all,
too, so
it,
she wouldn't qualify, but
yeah, yeah, no worries. No worries. Hey, one day, man, I've had enough parents be like, where's the parents camp? I was like, if you guys keep mentioning that and actually you're willing to sign up, we may be able to talk about something there. That'd be fun. I would be so down to do a parents camp. I was thinking too, we could even do it like on a sailboat or something fun. You know what I mean? Like we'll go crazy. I think it would be super fun. Either way, first of all, the college actually isn't in dormitories. So, I mean, at the college itself, the students actually live in houses. Now they're larger lodge style houses. But it's focused on like really that relational approach, and that's not only in the college but within the camp. So they are for all those ages, 15 to 19, for all 5 sessions, and it is co-ed. Now, the thing about the co-ed part of it is there's obviously completely separate living situations, completely separate leaders. So ladies obviously have lady leaders, and guys have guys as well. Through that whole thing, the students are having awesome opportunities in both environments. So sometimes we have just guy girl breakouts where just the guys go and get together, and just the ladies. I have really honest heart to heart conversation with all the campers before. I'd be like, hey, like awesome friendships are able to be made here, and this is meant to be a time of really intentional relationship that's not exclusive. So it's like, how can we really pursue this time together? That it's not one of those camps where someone's like, oh, I want to go, start a
yeah.
relationship or something like that. It's like, this isn't for that. And one day down the road, maybe, but it's like this one, there's like a lot of focus and a lot of things we're going to do. So throughout the time there may be, I mean, campers are usually very tired by the end, but have a big smile on their face. So there's not a lot of free time in that respect. But there is a lot of fun that we really focus on throughout. And for people just really wanting to grow in their faith, each of these 12-week sessions, it's really a matter of like making a lot of opportunity for these smaller groups rather than one massive one. And it provides some variety if people want to have like a family vacation in the summer or work a job or things like that. So we also, when it comes to the camping and sleeping portion, the when we're staying on the campus, obviously like you're indoors and have the opportunity to actually have some air conditioning, things like that. But when we go out in the woods, a lot of our campers, some of them never camped before in their lives. And we talk about it beforehand and everything, and like make sure they know what to expect. We don't have a massive through hike where you're walking like 30 miles and bringing everything on your back. It's not that. We'll have a base camp, so it's not hiking with like all the weight and everything. But honestly, the way that we have it set up, we found, honestly, it's my favorite camping spot in all of North Carolina. And it's just an amazing opportunity where it's near the rock climbing. It's near a beautiful river on a hike that we'll do. But being outside in that environment and separation from, and you'll notice our camp video is called Leadership Beyond the Screen, which, I mean, I have a good conversation with every camper about like, I know our phone policy is there will be an opportunity to call home. Absolutely. If there's an emergency, either direction, parents need to get a hold of their kid. They'll get the information. We'll be able to definitely stay in contact. But man, when it comes to the other stuff, 12 days disconnected from your phone, you see just like the students' eyes light up and come alive and connect. And some students are already that way, which is awesome. Other students, they're like, I want that. I want to be free of that. And you just see these just
go 12
friendships
minutes
go
without my phone, much less 12 days.
Yeah, totally. So it's an amazing experience. And even honestly, going out in the woods, like not only is it just the sunlight, the exercise, everything, like maybe the first night things are new, you don't sleep as well, but I guarantee the second and third night, you'll be sleeping just fine, making friends. And around the campfire, we'll tell life stories and testimonies for each of the staff members. So that's one of my favorite parts, is truly being able to share what God has done in my life. And I know for me, when I heard that from other leaders, those are the most inspiring thing to me. They can say one thing about how to live my life all day long, but when I get to hear like, wow, that's hard, and the Lord got you through that, man, he must be good. I'll take your word for it, the power of our testimony. And, and I think there really is something to that. So yeah, so just a high degree of relationship overall with Excel, within the college, within the camps. The whole focus is for the camp to be such a great expression of what college life would look like. But the only thing that's different in that holistic whole person discipleship experience is obviously the professional, right? So instead of working a job at summer camp, we do adventures and have a ton of fun in the process, and some waterfall hikes, things like that. So we have a lot of fun.
Sounds like it, and I know you guys have tons of fun during the year. I want to touch on one last thing. You talked about debt-free. Now, I
Yeah.
think we've got $2 trillion in student loan debts. It's ballooning. I know that like colleges are increasing prices to capture these federal dollars. You all are working with students and their families and
Mhm.
donors to get everything taken care of. So
Yep.
just give us a brief synopsis of Excel College and how it is so radically different than the woke Marxist indoctrination centers that so many colleges have become,
Yeah.
and give us some websites.
Yeah. Yeah. Great questions. So I'll say when it comes to the debt-free model, it's a three-way partnership, like you said, parents, partners, and students. Students have skin in the game, right? But it's not just, hey, I'm paying this amount. It's also they're working a certain amount of hours throughout the week. So in our overall program, it changes a little bit. In the first half of our program, the students are working about 30 hours a week for employers in the area, as well as time in class, but they're on alternating days. And we have a Monday night Zoom call that we actually do every Monday night where we do an hour-long presentation that goes into all these details. So if you have more questions or something's not clear, anyone can go check that out on our website, theexcelcollege.com. You'll see on there, it'll say Monday night call, sign up for that virtual presentation. You might see myself there, or Isaiah Schmidt. He's one of our other guys that serves in the classroom and also recruiting space. But with that, you can hear a lot more. But it breaks down that cost model where it shows students how to build responsibility in their finances. And it's not a model where the school just gets the money from the employer. That's simpler. No, it's like students need to learn how to balance their own budget, pay bills, because by the time they graduate here, life isn't a surprise. They've been doing it the whole time. And there's a progression to it. And there's mentorship with each of the students going throughout. There's one-on-one mentor relationships, guys with guys, ladies with ladies. Where it's sharing life with one another. But with some of my guys, sometimes we'll go play disc golf. Other times we're breaking down his budget and trying to figure out like, oh, yeah, you know the difference between a 1099 and a W-2. Does that mean, are you preparing for what's to come, with taxes, right? I was, that's been a painful lesson in life. I think a handful of us have had to learn, figured out how those differences like taxes and things. But it's also like spiritual growth, and just walking alongside someone through life. That's able to offer a little bit perspective sometimes when things are a bit overwhelming. So through all of that, it's just, there's a lot of components that lead into it, but that 3-part cost model really helps support the students, have the families have an opportunity to bless them, as well as the students be able to really carry that going forward. And then in the second half of the program, they spend a lot more time working because apprenticeships is the primary focus of classroom experience. You're actually working a job and earning college credit. And the difference, I would say, primarily for us, and quite a few other colleges out there, especially within the system now, there's some really, really disappointing normalities that you see that are just common. One of them being student debt, right? That's like, it's normal to have, some shackles around your ankles as you try and start the rest of your life. It's how did that become normalized? It's like, who's really benefiting from this? And I really don't think it's the people. And second of all, one of the biggest things that we talk about a lot, especially with critical thinking, is we teach our students how to think well rather than what to think. And that is really challenging, even as believers, rather than being told what to think. In our culture today, it's like people are like, I feel really convinced of this, or I have this really good thing. Here's what to believe. And you might trust that person. You might trust that organization. You might trust that whatever. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But we encourage our students to at least recognize that they're taking it on faith. But the question really remains, is that faith well placed? Like, where is our faith well placed, And that's really where we start off the whole core experience, is just a really study of like who God is and what does reality actually look like? Reality is actually bigger than my own perspective. Thank God. Because my perspective can be pretty unfortunate sometimes. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. It's better than that. So through that, we teach our students things similar to you guys, which I love about classical conversations. We've been jokingly called Challenge 5 before by some students that are like, it's the obvious next step. I'm like, well, I haven't done CC as a kid, but I mean, hearing what you guys do, I love it. And
And you
through
guys,
that, yeah, go
just to
ahead.
interrupt real quick, you guys actually
Yeah.
host a classical conversations community on your
Yes.
campus.
Yes, we
So
do. Actually, they're upstairs. I'm in our creative arts recording studio downstairs right now. And I don't know if you may even see some on break here in this little window in the background behind me. They actually don't even know I'm doing the podcast down here with you. So it'll be funny if some of the families watching be like, I was upstairs the whole time. So yeah, no, we love it. We love CC. Great program. But yeah, I mean, through it all, man, being able to minister to our students in such a way that we're able to really ask questions and follow after the Lord and recognize where we're placing things on faith. And it's like, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to place our faith somewhere. Everyone actually has to do that. But are we recognizing where we're placing our faith always? Or are we just saying, that's a reputable college in front of that study, so that data must be true? It's like, hold up. You're putting faith in the name. You're not actually looking at the science, even though it may seem like you are, So there's a lot of elements to all that. And our critical thinking method overall, it's really focused on asking questions. And my biggest goals for students and for campers is when they leave Excel, obviously after 3 years, they're really prepared for life. But campers in that 12-day experience, I should say, are really focused on finding mentorship where they see the fruits of the Holy Spirit and some years on someone's life. I tell them, and I get a lot of laughs when I tell this to parents. I say, look for the gray hairs and look for the fruit. It's like they've been walking this out with the Lord for a time, and you see the fruits of the Spirit on their life, right? Like, you know a tree by its fruit. And then from there, ask them questions. And the quality of your questions just help to bring about greater and greater revelation. So overall, my whole focus is for them to be able to leave here and be hungry. Our four virtues we live by, higher by, you name it, is humility, hunger, honor, and health. And really helping the students to walk in that path. It's like, man, it's a dream come true. So for me, military, missionary, Excel College, all around, like, the Lord has just been working in my heart for a long time to be a part of this, and being able to just see the change in the student's life in just 12 days, man, there's nothing like it.
Give us is the website for the summer camp different than the Excel College?
It is different. There should be a link on both of them, but the college is the excelcollege.com. And then there's those two E's in there that can get a little confusing in and Excel. So just keep an eye out for that. And then for the camp, it's theexcelcamp.org. So, and my biggest request, if people are even remotely interested, is watching that 10-minute camp video on the camp page. It's incredible. 10 minutes, but the best 10 minutes you can get of an experience to really see what the camp is about.
Awesome. All right, go to the excelcollege.com. We'll put the websites in the show notes. So go to our website, or look at your favorite app wherever you're listening, or if you're watching on YouTube. Would love for you to go check it out. It sounds exciting. I'm not even a camper. I like to glamp. I always got my space heater and my air mattress. But it sounds like a blast. And
well, we do eat good at our camp as well in the woods, I will say.
Okay.
We always do that.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew Haak, for being on the show today, and just the work that you guys are doing at Excel College, and how much of a blessing you were in Western North Carolina this past year, and how you are really preparing students for life. And it's not just saying, it's really what y'all do on a daily basis. So go check out that summer camp. I know my oldest is 10, so I've got at least 5 more years before I can send any of mine, but we'll look forward to sending them in the future. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Absolutely.
And thank you, listeners. Please share this episode with a friend, especially if you know someone with high schoolers trying to figure out what they're going to do next. They want a 2-week immersive experience this summer, and really understanding themselves, getting some great skills, checking out a beautiful part of North Carolina. If you're in classical conversations, great, but you don't have to be to attend the camp. And so just encourage all of y'all to check that out. And again, Andrew, thank you so much. And until next time, God bless.
Thank you for listening to Refining Rhetoric with Robert Bortons. Want more? Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow us on social media to continue the conversation, and visit classicalconversations.com/rhetoric to find out how you can join a local homeschool community.